found around Megananya, Meteora building, 5th floor. Thank you for tuning in. Let's go. We are going to be looking at communication skills today. What communication means, what are the factors involved with communication, and what barriers one can face while trying to communicate. Stay with me. Here with you again from Galila Seminary, Tewolde. Okay. Right. Okay. What does communication mean, and why do we need to know? What does it benefit us to know what communication is and how it works, how it functions? Alright. Communication is the transfer of any information from one place to another, from a person to another person, which the first person who actually gives out the information will be the sender. There would be a medium of communication, and there would be a receiver. But for it to really be called communication, there should be understanding. So with understanding comes feedback. Okay? So when a person gives feedback, it means that the circle becomes full. Someone sends something this way, it's received, understood, and then something else comes here as a response to the first message that has been given out. Now stay with me. So if a person understands the information that has been given out, then a person has successfully communicated. If the person gives feedback, then the sender has done his job properly. Okay? So why do we need this? And how do we learn it? What have we been missing because we have not really explored this, and so on and so forth? We shall see now. Now, why do we need communication? Because I believe that every single war and dispute that has happened in human history could have been avoided if we were all masters of communication. If we could have understood each other from the very beginning, I really doubt that anything monotonely bad has been happening in this world could have been avoided. Alright, one. Another one would be to be able to communicate properly is to live or enact your difference from other animals. Other animals do communicate, but you do it using speech. So the medium matters because you have choices. You have 4 choices. Usually we can use visual aided, we can speak, listen, read, and write. Through these communication skills of language, we could go on and get to understand with each other. Alright, good. Now, what are the factors or the elements involved in communication? There's a sender, there's a medium, and there's a receiver. Okay? So the sender sends, so he encodes a message, and then throughout the medium it goes to the receiver, and then the receiver decodes it, understands it, and then sends some feedback in response to what he's been given. Okay? This is how it works. Alright, elements involved in communication: the sender, the receiver, and the medium. The message itself, you have the channel, which is the medium, already been told, and then we have feedback. Then there is something really important that we really should not forget, and that's context. What does context mean? Context means, for example, if I appeared in front of you and I had badly mannered hair, I had a beard like this big, and I wasn't properly dressed, would you accept anything that I would say? No. But if I was in the streets like that, you couldn't care. But why aren't you accepting me now? Because the context that we are at the moment is a learning context. And someone who's trying to teach you should at least manage to look professional, if not act it. So, መግባቢያ መንገድ የምንለው ኮንቴክስትም ጭምር ነው። ኮንቴክስት የሚባል አንድ ሰው እይታው ራሱ ይወስነዋል ምን አይነት ስራ ለመስራት እንደመጣ። ቦምባ ሰሪ ቀጥረ ሱፍ ለብሶ የሚመጣበት ግራ ይገባል አይደል? እዛው ነው የሚሰማኝ right? So context matters. So context, according to our text, context is the setting in which the communication takes place and could sometimes determine the success or failure of the communication. Context can be classified as physical, social, phonological, and cultural. So these 4 types of context may differ from one to another. Okay? Now, physical context. Physical context, where you're at the moment, your environment. Social context, what kind of people you're around. Chronological context, what time you are inquiring what inquiry. Cultural context, you and your receiver having cultural similarities or differences matters. This is what context means. Now that we've seen what context is, let's go to exploring the barriers that will happen in communication. ለምን እኛ እስካሁን ኮሚኒኬሽናችን ወይም ደግሞ መግባቢያችን እስካሁን የተቋረጠ ወይም ደግሞ የተዛባ መግባቢያ መንገድ እንዳለንና ለምን የከፈልንበት እንደምንገኝ። Okay, so you have barrier ማለት ምንድነው ሲጀመር? Barrier means anything that keeps you or hinders or impedes you from communicating successfully is a barrier to communication. Okay? Now, you have physical noise, psychological noise, physiological noise. Environmental barriers, individual barriers, organizational barriers, channel barriers, linguistic and cultural barriers, semantic barriers, and non-verbal barriers are all barriers. Not every single one is important, but every single one will be given to you in the following slide. Now, physical noise, chachata, physiological noise, hearing or other disabilities. If you're trying to ask a person to read, this person obviously is impeded or has impediments. He's a disabled person, he can't see. Can he read? No, that's a barrier. It's a physiological barrier. A physical barrier, something that is related to your physiology and anatomy. Okay? Psychological barrier, emotions and certain feelings towards, actually not towards, between the two parties, the sender and the receiver. Could be psychological barriers. Then you have environmental barriers, is usually the same as the physical barrier, which refers to the acoustics of a room. For example, if we're trying to do this video and the noise quality of the room has echo, then the acoustic situation is not acceptable or good. That could be a barrier because you will be hearing 2 voices instead of 1, and that could lead you to even turning off the video and going elsewhere for education. Good. Then you have organizational barriers. Every organization is not the same. Okay? And that being said, you have barriers within an organization because communication is rough. Nobody wants to communicate properly. Usually there are cultures in which new people are called rookies and called names, pulled pranks upon, and all that lot. Why? Because the organization has not still managed to master the fluency of communication. Then you have channel barriers. Channel barriers is that, for example, if I'm trying to talk to you via phone, then you have bad reception or I have bad reception. There's like the line keeps breaking up. Then we have a barrier in communication because the channel is not good. The network Hello again, Dana again from Galila Cemetery. We are now continuing with our communication skills class. Now we're going to look at some very important types and channels of communication. If you have channels of communication and if you care about your channels of communication, it means definitely you know what you're doing and you have higher success rates. Now, types and channels. Very good. Now, we have one verbal channel, non-verbal channel. Very good. Verbal uses what? Words. Non-verbal? No words. Very good. No words. Excellent. Now, you have verbal communication, in which we have the oral communication. This is how I am doing it right now. I'm talking to you. Oral communication. And then you have written communication, which means if a person writes something and I read it to you. Written communication. This type of communication is the correspondence made in writing. This can be handwritten, printed, or typed. And then you have non-verbal communication. Non-verbal communication is easy. Or something what my friend here is doing. He keeps saying, yes, and then he frowns when I approach him. That's what? Non-verbal communication. Because you can't hear his voice, but he's showing his emotions. And that's why we're calling it communication. People, we call non-verbal communication because we understand each other. So the core in communication is understanding. But understanding, they couldn't come to an understanding. It was a misunderstanding. He couldn't understand me. You misunderstood me. A lot of things. People misunderstand each other. But if we understand each other, on the other hand, it doesn't matter what we use. Even if we don't talk, even if we don't move our body, if we do it telepathically, if we understand each other, it's good. That's what communication is at the end of the day. Adam? Very good. Non-verbal communication is the not using of words. So how do we use verbal communication properly? Usually people misunderstand each other because they don't know how to talk to each other. And they tell them what እንዳለባቸው ስለማያውቁ ነው ሁሌም የሚቸገሩ። ስለዚህ avoid እናደርጋቸው ነገሮችን ይኖራሉ ማለት ነው። Avoid using jargons. Avoid using words with multiple meanings. Okay? Multiple meanings ማለት ለምሳሌ beat የሚል ቃል ይሄ ተነክሷል ሊሆን ይችላል ወይም ደግሞ ማይክሮቺፕ እንትን ሊሆን ይችላል። ይሄ ቺፕ ራሱ ቺፕስ ሊሆን ይችላል። እኛ የምናውቀው ቺፕስ ቺፕስ ሊሆን ይችላል ወይም ደግሞ ኮምፒውተር ወይም ፒሲ ቺፕ ሊሆን ይችላል ማለት ነው። ሶ አቮይድ እንደዚህ አይነት ነገሮችን አትጠቀም። ጃርገን አትጠቀም። ጃርገን ማለት አንድ ኤዲተር ፊልሞራ ፕሪሚየም ፕሮ ምናምን ብሎ ቢያወራን አይገባንም። ለምን ነው የማይገባን? ለምን ነው የምንቸገረው? because የሱ ቃል ነው። እኔ አላውቀውም። በትምህርት የሚያውቀው ቃል ነው። avoid using jargons. እና please ensure clarity through a highly specific statement. Be clear. ግልጽ የሆነ ወሬ አውራ እና ባዝ ላንጉዌጅ ወይም ደግሞ ስድብ ኢንክሊኔሽን ደግሞ አቮይድ ብታደርግ በጣም ይመረጣል ወይም ደግሞ ይመከራል ማለት ነው። እሺ ስለዚህ አንድ ነገር ማወቅ ያለብን ነገር ግን ምንድነው non-verbal communication ሲባል በሁለት በኩል ነው የምናየው። non-verbal ሲባል ምንድነው? አሁን ከቨርባል ወጣ ብለን ወደ non-verbal የገባን እንገኛለን። በሁለት በኩል እናየዋለን። unavoidable ነው avoidable ደግሞ ነው። unavoidable ነው ግን ብዙ ሁሉ ነገር ደግሞ አይገልጽም። ሁሉም ነገር ደግሞ አይገልጽም። ሶ ቦዲ ላንጉዌጅ ብቻ አድርጌ ብዙ ነገር መግለጽ አልችልም ለምሳሌ አሞኛል ለማለት ካልኩኝ ወይ ምን ካልኩኝ ማለት ነው ጡንቻዬ ነው የሚያመኝ ልቤ ነው የሚያመኝ ሳምባዬ ነው የሚያመኝ ግሪተኔ አይታወቅም እንዳመመኝ ብቻ ነው የሚታወቀው ስለዚህ ብዙ ነገሮች you can miss just using if you're restricted to only using non-verbal communication on the other hand you can rely on non-verbal communication because you cannot avoid it አለሱ ምንም ማለት ስለማትችል ማለት ነው እሺ non-verbal communication classified ይሆናል you have body language touching personal space and distance use of time tone of voice and physical environment is where we're at tone of voice is how I talk to you እናንተ this is tone of voice use of time የጊዜ አጠቃቀማችን መንካት ምን እንትን ያመጣል even ራስህን ማለት ነው እንዲያርገ ስታረጋጋው ምናምን አይደል እንዲምናም ስትል የሚያመጣው ነገርና body language ራሱ the way you smile the way you act ምናምን body language ራሱ they are types of non-verbal communication ወይ ደግሞ classifications of non-verbal communication now ብዙ ጊዜ communicate ስናደርግ you have ways of communicating verbally or non-verbally it can be either two way or one way either face to face or not to face to face when we say two way it means that you and I can answer to each other and when it's to face it's like you and me and my cameraman we can talk to each other right that's two way face to face and then you and I can text to each other via the comment box on YouTube right that's two way because we can understand each other but it is what no actually that's one way two way non-face-to-face communication is when you and I can type each other or text each other, email each other, whatsoever. There is when we go to one way, no more the same happens either face-to-face or non-face-to-face. One way face-to-face is this. This is one way face-to-face. When you see this, you can't answer me. You can't say anything to me personally because I can't hear you. You just be watching a video, right? They're gonna tell you right now. So let's see. Two way. Sorry, one way. Face to face one way one way non face to face exactly the same ነገር ሆኖ but on the other face of the topic ማለት ነው which is no watching face to face and leaving offline messages very good this is it for the yay actually and I told like Galila Seminary College ተመልሰናል the importance of listening በሚል ርዕስ ነው የምንወያየው so what's listening is the most important part of communication because if you don't listen you don't understand if you don't understand you don't respond at least you don't respond properly ስለዚህ ምን ማድረግ እንችላለን listening ምን እንደሆነ ማየት ነው listening እና hearing ምን ልዩነት ይኖራቸዋል what's the difference between listening and hearing ይሄ ማዳመጥ ሲሆን ይሄ መስማት ነው ይቀራል መስማት ማለት ምንድነው to hear ማለት ምንድነው ሰምተህ ዝም ብለህ ታስቀምጣለህ you might not understand ሊገባ ይችላል ከገባህ ሰምተሃል ማለት ነው ኢንተርፕሬት አድርገሃል ማለት ነው ስለዚህ listening hearing interpreting evaluating responding የሚሉ ነገሮችን ውስጥ ያካትታል ማለት ነው ስለዚህ hearing ማለት እንደነገርኳችሁ መስማት ነው interpreting ማለት መተርጎም ነው right for example እኔ my computer x ሲጽፍላት ብሎ ሄዶ ኖርማል ኤክስ አይደለም የሚለጠፈው መጀመሪያ ኤክስ የሚለው ነገር ባይናሪ ኮድ ሲላላክ አካል right they send each other binary codes ከዛ እዛ ላይ እኔ እዚህ ጻፍኩት እዛ ይታየኛል how በአስማት አይደለም ዛም ሄዶ there's a process that it undergoes that process is called the interpreting of the computer of the digit x very good you are evaluating is something you listen to something and ወዲያው ምን ታደርጋለህ evaluate ታደርጋለህ ይሄ ውሸት ነው ይሄ ትክክል ነው ይሄ ልክ ነው ይሄ አይደለም ይሄ እውነት ነው የሚል ነገር ውስጥ ትገባለህ and this step evaluate and make decisions accordingly so whether ትሰማው ወይም ላትሰማው ትወስናለህ ማለት ነው ከዛ ሪስፖንድ ታደርጋለህ that's your decision ከዛ you have types of listening this is what fascinated me most እኔ መስማት ወይም ማዳመጥ የሚባል ነገር ታይፕ እንዳለው ጭራሽ እንዲ አስቤው አላውቅም apparently we have 7 types of listening very surprising you have discriminative comprehension evaluative appreciative empathetic empathetic and therapeutic, therapeutic and dialogic listening. So ይሄ እንዴት ነው የሚመጣው መሰላችሁ? listening አይነት አለው። okay so discriminative ከሆነ basic listening or the difference between sounds is identified ማለት ነው። discriminate እያደረግ ትሰማለህ ማለት ነው። ለምሳሌ እኔ ክላክ ከተደረገ በዛ ውጭ ምንም አይመስለኝም የሚል ድምጽ ከሰማው ግን who's there ወደ ማለት እሄዳለሁ ማለት ነው። this is discriminative listening ለይተህ የመስማት ችሎታ አንድ አንዳንድ ጊዜ ደግሞ discriminative listening can be right ከምትወደው ሰው የሚመጣ ወሬና ከማትወደው ሰው የሚመጣ ወሬ ይለያያል ወይ receive. Then you have comprehension listening, you listen to understand. You have evaluative listening, you listen to evaluate. Everything is self-explanatory. You appreciative listening is when a person gives a speech and is trying to tell you something very good about you or about him or about memories. So you're like listening through appreciation. You're like, hey, did you come and appreciate the other. Empathetic. The more you're like kasuga feeling share ያደረክ ነው ማለት ነው. This means you're sharing feelings with that person. Okay, you've been in their shoes and you're like feeling what they're feeling. If they're happy, you're happy. If they're not, you're not. Therapeutic listening, you're listening to a very relaxing classical music that you find on YouTube. Okay, that's what therapeutic listening is. And dialogue listening is you're listening to answer directly. Now, as any endeavor in our classes, we have barriers to listening as well. What could hinder us from listening? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 barriers to listening. These 8 barriers are as follows. Physiological barriers. የመስማት ችግር ያለው ሰው አይሰማህም የማየት ችግር ያለው ሰው አያነብልህም physical barriers ጫጫታ ምናምን የሚል ድምጽ ከበዛ attitudinal barriers is the attitude we have towards each other the sender and the receiver ያላቸውን ግንኙነት በጣም ይወስነዋል እንደምን እንደምናያይ ኦኬ ያላቸው ግንኙነት ስላችሁ ፒስ ሊሆን ይችላል ግን አንዱ ለአንዱ እንደምን ላያዩ ይችላል እንደ ባሪያ ላያዩ ይችላል አንዱ ለአንዱ ደግሞ እንደ አምላክ ላያዩ ይችላል this is the attitude towards each other ያለን ማለት ነው wrong assumptions like when I see him like he's እንደዚህ አይነት ልብስ ለብሶ ሳይው ራፐር ይመስለኛል እንዴ ብሎ right because he's wearing ሱፍ ለብሶ እንዴ ብሎ ከመጣ ደግሞ ሌባም ቢሆን ሌላ ነገር ይመስላል ለምን assume ታደርጋለህ from whatever assumption ትወስዳለህ assume ማድረግ ማለት የራስህን ጥያቄ ጠይቀህ የራስህን መልስ መመለስ ማለት ነው very problematic cultural barriers so my culture disallows me to talk to you for example if you have been an Indian person on America so የተጎዳ ከሆነ አሜሪካዊ ሲጠቃው ደስ አይለው right like Jews and Germans Israel እና ግብጽ እንደዛ ብሎ ይቀጥላል ማለት ነው gender barriers a woman and a man talking to a woman is different አይደል አንድ ሴት ልጅ መጥተህ ስልክህን አጠገብ ባክሽን ደውል ስትላትና ሴት ልጅ እንዲስትላት ይለያያል gender barriers and then lack of training ደግሞ if you have been born and raised around sheep and cattle and you've been like used to talking out very loud right like some people we may know like fresh you shout that's what you can do that's what you shout so this is lack of training you don't know how to communicate properly with people this is a barrier and then you have bad listening habits because so listening spectrum is like በጣም ነው like for 20 minutes ምናምን ነው ወሬስ እንደጀመር ለ20 ደቂቃ ምናምን ነው attentively የሚሰማ ይሄን 20 ደቂቃ ማስረዘም ትችላለህ እንደ ችሎታህ ካልቻልክ ወፈቀ 20 ደቂቃ ብቻ መጠቀም ያለብህ ማለት ነው that's bad listening habits ማለት ነው now I told you what the problems are how do we solve them strategies for effective listening 1 create a conducive environment wherever you want to listen make sure that you can and make sure that you can ሲባል አሪፍ ቦታ እንደሆነ አረጋግጥ and select face to face channels መታየት because body language matters you need to know whether the people that are looking at you or talking to you or communicating with you has to be face to face ይመረጣል you have to be open minded and avoid distractions earphones ጫጫታ ምናምን anything that can ሊያደርግ የሚችል ነገር avoid ማድረግ ነው use non-verbal cues to indicate active listening for example the usage of my hands keeps you engaged even if I pause my hands have kept you busy. Okay, this is what my hands have done. እጄ busy ነው ያደረጋችሁት። ገባችሁ? Very good. Now use verbal communication to indicate active listening. Listen before responding and use the speaker listening gap very constructively. Okay? ጋፑ በጣም አውቀ በደንብ መጠቀም ወይም ደግሞ ኤክስፕሎይት ማድረግ መቻል አለብህ። please do not be judgmental በማለት መዘጋት ይችላል ማለት ነው። ኦኬ now በቢዝነስ ኮንቴክስት መልክ ደግሞ ምንድነው listening in business የሚለውን ነገር ደግሞ አሁን እናያለን። listening to customers. How should we listen to customers? The customer is the king. The customer is the king, right? Customer ንጉስ ነው። ስለዚህ how do we say and what do we say to him matters በጣም and one, you need to believe the customer. You should actively listen. You should like be yes I understand, yes and now you found the soap in the detergent, the hard soap in the liquid detergent section. Oh, that's not good. So you need to actively participate with him. You need to let him know that you know, like, am I right? Am I correct? ማለት መቻል አለብህ ማለት ነው. And then you need to apologize if you're not correct. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. So you found the liquid in the solid. Oh, I'm very sorry. በጣም ይቅርታ. And you can say ask him whether he's satisfied or not. Make sure they are satisfied because a satisfied customer is the best advertisement for your product. And then thank them. Say thank you very much. Come again. Okay? Because now you need to listen to your employees. You listen to your customers, now listen to your employees. ምንድነው የሚፈልጉ? ጃብ ኢንተርቪው ላይ ምን ነው መስማት ያለብህ? In interviews people lie. ኢንተርቪው ላይ ሰው ይዋሻል. Okay? So how do you fix this? Active listening. What are you looking for? So what kind of questions should you ask to determine whether a person should be shortlisted or not? Okay? This is how you do it in interviews. And then effective questioning, cross-questioning. How do the police make you tell the truth? Right? Use the same method. Use either WH questions or yes or no questions. WH or yes or no. So this is info. Okay? So from here, using WH questions, you can extract information like open questions. You got closed questions. Are you married? Yes or no? So yes, I am married to a woman. No. What do you expect to be married to? But if you say, what's your marital status? Yeah, I'm divorced. I'm a widow. I'm not married. Very good. Now, ከዛ ወደ ምን የምንሄደው probing questions. Probing questions are, for example, when exactly will you submit the report? So probing means exactly ማስገባቴ ምን ይላል? ቶሎ መቼ ነው የምፈልገው እኔ በጣም ስፔሲፊካሊ እንደ ማሳየት እንደሚፈልግ አሳይቼዋለሁ ወይም ነግሬዋለሁ ይባላል ማለት ነው. Okay, that's what a probing question is. A leading question is something that in the courtroom would usually be objected, and leading questions are a person would lead a witness or the victim himself, whoever is in the stand would be asked questions that would lead him to answer. So leading questions are examples of leading questions. I assume you liked the presentation. Presentation እንዴት ነበረ? ወዳችሁታል? እንዴት ነው ልጁ? ወደድከው ምናምን? ተወደዳችሁ ምናምን? You're like implying an answer which is like easy for him to say yes rather than say no and explain it to you. አይ አልተመቸኝም ልጁ ከማለት ምን ማለት ይቀለዋል ልጁ? ማለት ቀለዋል። ለምን እዛ ነው ያደረስከው? እዛ ጀርሻ ላይ ያደረስከው በቃ ከዛ ትንሽ ነካ ስታደርገው ይላል። ወደድከው ፕሬዘንቴሽን? ትምህርቱ ወደድከው? ልጁ ተመቸ? ለምን ተመቸ የሚል ነገር እንዴት ነበረ ከማለት ነው። Okay? Leading. And then you have hypothetical questions, and that would be the last of our class. Hypothetical questions are questions in which a person uses questions that are not real. What if ብሎ የሚጠይቅ አይነት ጥያቄ are hypothetical questions. Okay? Hypothetical questions are used to explain your wishes or something that you would like to happen or something that you would imagine to happen, to have happened, to have had happened in a different way, which is already happened in the past ማለት ነው regret ስትናገር ማለት ነው if you did not tell me if you hadn't told me to come I wouldn't be arrested ምናምን የሚል ነገር I wish ምናምን የሚል ነገር if ምናምን ብለን የምናወራበት ደግሞ hypothetical ወይም ደግሞ what if you didn't call me tonight we wouldn't be in this mess at all thank you very much ዳናይት ወልደ ከገሊላ ሰሚናር